think we were drawn to this place because of how remote it felt, yet close to the city. And being on the waterfront has always been one of our dreams, and also how peaceful we feel when we're here.
I just remember being up here. There was this little Stellar Jay that kept following me around, and I just lost my dad, and I'm a little bit weird that way. I equate, animal figures to loved ones sometimes, and the old man, I could hear him saying, "Oh, it's beautiful up here, my boy," and it almost pushing me in that direction. Sometimes you take it as a sign. The off the grid thing came later. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's no road to get here, no power or anything up here. So we kind of had to ad lib out of necessity.
Yeah.
And won't it be a great adventure? We can just learn as we go. So that's what we did. We had a lot of help because there's a real community up here, and they kind of gave us a lot of guidance on what to do.
We have 3 kids, and they're aged 14, 12, and 8. So fairly younger still. We moved up here about 3 years ago, and I think it was the perfect time.
So yeah, they seem to love it. I mean, we talk about it all the time and make sure that, this is where they want to be, because a lot of people say, oh, how can you do that to your kids? You're removing them from all their social interactions and stuff. And I go, well, when it's school time of year, they're at school all day, they do their after school stuff, and they don't miss out on anything like that. And then when we're home, we have family time, and it's nice, And in the summer, there's a great community up here, so they're not really missing out, in my opinion. In fact, they're, becoming really great little people.
Yeah, I think it's expanding their horizons. They're learning more, they're doing more outside in the woods, in nature, which I think we've kind of lost touch with.
So we definitely are completely off grid here. We do face southwest, so we get quite a bit of sun. So we have 18 panels, which is more than adequate in the summer to run what we do, which is quite a bit. We have a proper dishwasher and a couple of fridges, and we laundry and lots of LED lights everywhere. For our phone, we have satellite telephone, we have satellite Wi-Fi, that sort of thing. So it does run that fine. But come wintertime, when the sun is gone and it's all rainy like it is today, we just this summer we brought in a really cool system. It's a turbine system, and we can do that because we have a river. About 1,000 feet up, there's a river, and it's pretty reliable. It's about 11 months a year. It's running pretty well. So we basically draw water from that river, and by the time it comes down the hill, 2-inch line, 1,000 feet, we got about 100 psi, and we basically have a hydro turbine. It splits into 2 jets. It spins that thing real fast. It generates electricity, goes right into our battery bank. And the beauty of that is, even like day like today, normally the generator would be on right now, we'd hear it. But we don't even hear the generator with the turbine now, because it does the job and keeps our batteries topped right up. It's been a real awesome addition to our setup. So now we basically have solar, turbine, and as a backup, we have our propane generator.
So if our turbine breaks down, there's always the propane generator that kicks in automatically if the batteries get down to a certain level.
It was a shack. It was probably wetter inside than outside.
Yeah.
And we had an inspector come in, and he said, absolutely do not try to bring this house back to life.
Yeah, he said tear it down. The family room used to be a workshop with a mud floor and a leaky roof. So it was part of the cabin, so we were allowed to renovate it. It only took us about 8 months before it was livable, but we didn't have parts of the house finished or the yurt set up yet.
The yurt was going to be more for storage.
Yeah.
And then I remember I said to you one day, I said, we'll just stick the kids in the yurt and everything's cool. And she's like, there's no way the kids are sleeping in a tent, right? And are going to walk out in the middle of the night with the bears all over. And so what are we going to do? And then we said, no big deal, right? We'll connect the two with a mudroom. And that's how the mudroom came to be. Believe it or not, everything was brought up here on a barge or somebody's boat or our boats, Yeah. So we were constantly juggling work, and oh yeah, we got to grab 52 by 4s and some 2 by 6 like tonight. So it was there for the guys in the morning. Otherwise, they didn't have anything to do. So yeah, we did some crazy stuff. We had to bring our excavator up on the barge. We had to bring all of our building materials for the road base. Everything else that's on the property had to come up on a barge. The RV.
Every single thing. We have a couple of different ways to heat the house. Originally, we had 2 wood stoves, and we have a lot of wood supplied for fuel, so we're good that way. But what we found is, unless you had a fire going all day, we'd come home to a freezing cold house, which wasn't as bad, but a very freezing cold yurt. And the kids wouldn't want to sleep in their beds. We had to put hot water bottles in there, and it just wasn't working. Just this past summer, we got a pellet stove, which I think a lot of off-grid people might be opposed to because you have to go out to the store and buy the pellets.
It also draws a little energy, feeding the one pellet at a time.
Yeah, and also the fans. So you have to have a good power system before you can use a pellet stove. So once we have the pellet stove in the yurt, it stays warm because we can load the pellet stove up with pellets for 3 days, and it's constantly heating. Even at a low temperature, it keeps it comfortable enough for the kids. And then our other source of heat, it used to be a smaller old wood stove, but this year we upgraded to a bigger wood stove, and it warms more square footage in the house.
It finally feels now that the whole house is heated. And then we actually, if it gets really, really cold, we do have little wall-mounted propane burners as well. But propane, as we said, is expensive because it comes up in a barge and they charge a premium. So that's sort of, if it's really cold out, we crank those on. Drinking water we get from the creek as well, the same place we get our turbine from. And then we run it through 2 filters. We have a large sort of particles, get the sand and the rocks out. And then we have like more of a minute filter. And then it's supposed to go through a UV filter, but I haven't hooked it up yet. We actually did bring a septic system in. We had a guy set it up. And what they ended up doing was we have a small holding tank, gravity feeds into that holding tank. And then we have this macerator pump that basically takes everything and it shoots it up a 2-inch line into our septic field. So it's gets it away from the ocean and where it needs to be, and it works really well. So the first place we rented up here for a few months while we built this had a really basic setup. And I remember I'd be out there in my underwear in the pouring rain, pouring gasoline into the generator, otherwise the alarm would be going off, beep, beep, your food is going bad. And it was a nightmare, and I said, we'll never, ever do it like that. We gotta we learned a lot from that place.
We sure did. There's so many different ways of doing off-grid, and the way we did it is a little bit extreme because we also wanted that comfort level and convenience factor. So we did end up spending a lot of money on our power system and our water system, but there is another way of going about it where you can just keep it simple and affordable and do it yourself.
I think we were a little surprised at how much everything cost, though.
Yeah.
Let's face it. By the time you brought all the things we did, it got a little bit beyond what we thought it would be.
For transportation, we decided we would get one boat as our main boat to get back and forth because it's about a 20-minute boat ride from dock to dock, we say. So from our dock to the dock in the marina. But we found that I was staying home a little bit more to work here, and I felt pretty vulnerable when he was in town with the only working boat, and I didn't have a way to get away or get help when I needed something in an emergency. So we then purchased a second boat for safety and also convenience.
And inevitably, when you're driving a boat all the time in this kind of a climate environment, one's going to break down. Depending on the time of the year, this sort of routine would be we get up around, 6:15 or 6:30, something like that. Throw on a fire, feed the cat, make the lunches, and I'll just I'll scoot down to the boat. If it's dewy out, it can be kind of wet and cold, so we got little heaters in our boat, so I'll just crank on the heater. By the time we're ready to leave, that boat is toasty warm, it's defogged. So we boot it down to the boat, kids jump in, we go, and then we're at the marina and somebody will drop the engine for me. One of them will jump out, grab the line, tie up the boat. We usually have garbage, recycling, and everybody grabs a bag, might have a gas can, and we just into the car, and we just drop eldest off first at the high school, and then 2 minutes later the kids go to the elementary, and then I go to the office, and it's another day.
Yeah, we love living here, and I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't go back to the city ever, I don't think. Yeah, feels good to be independent.
Please share this video if you liked it. Also, be sure to subscribe to Exploring Alternatives and check out our playlists for more stories like this. Thanks for watching.